Hello and welcome to our Poetic Hour. We believe that you've been enjoying our discussions on poetry. This morning we have a poem, Crazy Peter Prattles by Susan Kiguli again. Let me read through the poem, Crazy Peter Prattles. So what is the mountain deal about the minister's ailing son that makes the boiling news? How come it was not whispered when Tina's hostel bed crawled with maggots and her eyes oozed pus because the doctors lacked gloves? What about Kcse's only child who died because the man with the key to the oxygen room was on leave? I have seen queues of emaciated mothers clinging to babies with translucent skin, faint in line, and the lioness of a nurse commanding tersely, "Get up or leave the line." Didn't I hear it rumored that the man with the white mane and black robes, whose mouth stores the justice of the land, ushered a rape case out of court because the 7-year-old failed to testify? Anyway, I only remember these things when I drink. They are indeed tipsy explosions. Welcome. Hello, I believe that you have enjoyed the reading of the poem, and we now have to discuss the same poem, Crazy Peter Prattles. But today we want to appreciate it in terms of its stylistic approach. What is it? Which styles have the writer or the poet used to bring out the message? Number one, when you look at the title of this poem, Crazy Peter Prattles. Peter Prattles. Now there is a bit of alliteration. Look at Peter. The initial sound of Peter is P, and there is also the initial sound of Prattles that is also P sound, and that brings out what we call alliteration. So it is a poem that is very rhythmical, even as it begins at the title. Now, apart from that, you realize that the word prattles is onomatopoeic because the sound of the word prattles actually reflects the meaning. So prattles here is also onomatopoeic. So we have identified the style of onomatopoeia also even at the level of the title. Now, when I look at this poem, it has exploited greatly the use of onomatopoeia to create that musicality in this poem. Now let me just try to identify some of the sounds that are actually onomatopoeic in nature, some of the words. Now the first word is prattles, as I have said. The second one is how come it was not whispered. So whispered here is also onomatopoeic. There is also another one, oozed, in the second stanza. That is also onomatopoeic. Now, so when you look at this poem, it exploits greatly the use of onomatopoeia as a style. So that is one of the styles that you need to identify in this poem. Apart from that, this poem exploits the use of rhetorical question. Look at the stanzas. They end in question mark. Questions that don't need any response, and that is what we call rhetorical question. Let me read for you the first stanza. What is the mountain deal about the minister's ailing son that it makes boiling news? So that question is rhetorical. It doesn't need any response coming from anyone, but is asking questions that are probing our minds about what is happening in the society. How come it was not whispered when Tina's hostel bed crawled with maggots and eyes oozed pus? Because the doctors lacked gloves. So there is a use of rhetorical question also even in the second stanza. So even the third stanza, what about Kcse's only child who died because the man with the key to the oxygen room was on leave? So these are rhetorical questions that are probing our minds. So in terms of its stylistic approach, we realize that this poem has got a lot of styles. Other styles in this poem are hyperbole. When you read this poem, there is a mention of the mountain deal. Mountain. I think that is an overt exaggeration of the deal, and that becomes hyperbole. Again, we have what we call the boiling news. The news has actually been exaggerated to be boiling. That is a case of hyperbole as well. We also have cases of other cases of hyperbole, like emaciated mothers. The mother's description as emaciated is an exaggeration. And also the translucent skins of the children, that is also hyperbole. So this poem, apart from the use of onomatopoeia, also exploits the use of hyperbole as a style. Again, there is a use of metaphor because the nurse here has been described as a lioness of a nurse. So that lioness, the direct comparison, is a case of a metaphor. And finally, we have personification, when the mouth is described or is given the characteristic of storing. Mouth stores. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a poem that has got a lot of styles, loaded with a lot of styles. So it is one of the best styles one of the best poems when you want to discuss stylistic devices. Thank you and be blessed. We hope that you have enjoyed our reading and our analysis of the poem. And we believe that you can now subscribe to our YouTube channel and learn more about poetry. Be our guests.